What if there was a relationship where the two partners would be very, very connected, deeply connected, but not how two couples would be connected, not how two people in a partnership would be connected, but rather a parent and a child. The parent is the one who's responsible, the one who feels the responsibility to look after the child, to maintain the child's sense of well-being, and to protect the child and raise the child up to be, well, disciplined, serious, mature. And then the child, would feel like this person in this relationship is holding me back from me expressing who I am, from me shining my light. Well, this is the kind of relationship dynamic that may come into play with the Sun conjunct Saturn in Synastry astrology, or the astrology of relationships. And I just want to clarify what Synastry is. Just so that you know. It's about comparing two or more natal birth charts, looking at how individuals connect with and engage with, relating to each other, and how one aspect, one person's planet, could make an aspect to another person's planet. So say your moon is conjunction of this Venus, which I may talk about in a later video. But that's Synastry aspect. It could be that your Venus is squaring the other person's Jupiter. Or in this case, the person's Sun is at the same degree as that person's Saturn. Well, that's what it is. So, it's relationship astrology. Looks at the aspects. How aspects in the chart. I'm going to go into several aspects on these videos. Squares, trines, sextiles, oppositions, conjunctions. Those are the aspects that we use in astrology most commonly. There's a, quintile, like quincunx and sesquiquadrate. If you even know what that aspect is in astrology, which I am not the most educated on, that's a very, very minor aspect. So, challenges. Dealing with compatibility. Now, it's more than just one sign is just like Aries, Libra compatibility or Gemini, Virgo compatibility. No. Okay, let's say that their suns were squaring each other's suns. Let's say that the person's moon would square that other's north node. Well, then that's what we're talking about here. It's more than just sun sign compatibility. So don't get that confused. That's a very, very surface level to look at Synastry. We have to broaden it and look at the individual aspects between one chart and another chart. It is fascinating to look at how people interact and how people, get along in their relationship based off of the astrology. And the astrology is so true for what it shows about that given relationship. So I just want to discuss that. I'll do another video on Synastry sometime or another, but I just wanted to discuss the meaning of Synastry. I'll go deeper into that in that video. Let's talk about these two planets, the Sun and Saturn. What do these planets mean in astrology? Well, the Sun is your basic personality. It is your ego. It is your identity. It's who you want to put yourself out into the world to be. It is how you want to shine in the world. It is basically you wanting to be generous and radiate your power. It is that masculine part of you that is the center of your life and how you want to run your life. Based off of that sign. The person that you uniquely want to be is what the Sun represents. And it can be, where all the other planets revolve around the sun, and it sort of creates that dynamic here. And then Saturn deals with several things. Let's talk about Saturn. So Saturn deals with such things that a father would deal with. When we have to think, we're thinking about Saturn, think about the role of a father. Goes out, makes a living, makes the money. Fathers are often seen as being the taskmasters, the breadwinner of the family. Bringing home the bacon, providing for the family, being the disciplinarian, being the one who sets up the boundaries in that relationship. These are all very, very Saturnian things. So that's how you can really look at it. And so Saturn is also, and this is going to be a really, really key piece here, is karma. Saturn is karma. Saturn looks at, and I'm going to discuss karma later on in this episode, so I'm not going to get to that, but this is sort of like you reap what you sow. If you do these things, then they're going to have consequences. And so Saturn teaches you, like karma, there's consequences to your actions. And so Saturn is a very, very kind of hard, cold planet. And I actually have a book on the new look at an old devil, which I will get to. I'll balance my life out a little bit more to be able to get to that book, because I'd really, really like to read it. It's a book I ordered from Amazon. I got it. I'm really, really interested. And right now I'm currently going through the Saturn signs and doing a whole series on the Saturn through the signs in astrology of what I am doing. So, okay. Now, let us talk about the meaning of this Synastry aspect. So, there's a couple ways of looking at this. I'm getting into a various multifaceted interpretation of this relationship. Now, first of all, I should say that I actually have this because my grandma has her Saturn at 16 degrees of Aries. My sun is at 16 degrees of Aries, so her Saturn is exactly conjunct my sun. I discovered and I was like, okay, this explains a lot. Now, you do have to look at the whole chart. You do have to look at the other aspects that define the relationship, define what is going on between these two people. You can't just we're just isolating this one piece of the puzzle here, but you have to look at all the pieces of the puzzle before you just come to the conclusion of, oh, this relationship is this way because of this one thing. Like no, part of it, not all of it, not the whole entirety of it. So I'm going to discuss this in depth, in some detail here. So, and I want to do more of these aspect videos. I think that they're very, very interesting videos to do. So, discussing this. Alright. So, and the relationship dynamics between, my grandma and I has kind of, I am an Aries sun, and so I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to be very, very self-oriented and very, very loud and proud and assertive. And Saturn in Aries indicates, well, I can't get what I want, and I have to be very, very unselfish. Trying not to be selfish, trying not to think of myself so much and just think of others and compromise my own ambition or my own drive, my own motivation, my own desires my own sense of vitality and energy about life. And so the sun results in Aries. So this is a really, really strong, very, 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 deep-seated kind of aspect. The sun conjunct Saturn, in our case, falls in the sign of Aries. There's kind of been this, rejection of anything selfish, quote unquote, selfish from this person. And I probably shouldn't even name them, but, that is, really what, the relationship is kind of like. It's just my perception of it, of what I can gather, right now from this. All right, so let's talk about this. And when it comes to naming people, I'm going to do what feels right. If it doesn't feel right to name a certain name, then I'm not going to do it, like naming names. But maybe if I'm referring to a family member name or some type of other title, I don't think it's a big deal, really. So anyway, just thought I'd clarify that for my own sake, because of the lesson that I've learned around that, and the kind of questioning of myself that I'm doing in my mind right now about should I have done that or not. So anyway, this aspect creates this kind of, on one level, and I'll get this in a couple of different ways. So on one level, this relationship can be really, really stable, where the relationship, the two partners are supporting each other. The Saturn person's providing stability and structure and routine, all these kind of things like that. And the relationship can be very, very dedicated. So the two partners are very, very dedicated and, focused on improving each other and making each other the best that they can be. They're looking at, for example, my sun is at 7 degrees of Cancer. Anyone born June 27th, 28th would have their sun conjunct my Saturn. So I'm going to get into this dynamics as I go through here. So the two partners can be very, very dedicated toward each other. The Saturn especially, because the Saturn is, commitment and focus and the willpower to stick it out and see it through to completion. So both individuals in this relationship can productively navigate challenges in the relationship easily. Like, both partners can navigate, how are we going to bend with the wind? How are we going to find a way to get along with each other in a way where we are navigating our own challenges and putting in the work to rise above those challenges? So, distractions in relationship is also something that they are rising above, like eliminating all of these kinds of roadblocks and things to take it away from the scheme of what the relationship is sort of going towards. Now, within this partnership, there can be a lot of determination involved in the relationship, where the two partners are very, very determined to go after their own goals and determined to support each other, setting clear boundaries, because Saturn is boundaries. Saturn is, limitations and all that. So you're setting clear boundaries in this relationship. The Saturn is enforcing clear boundaries, like you can only go this far, or you must do things in a certain way, because at best, the Saturn person can really, really care and value the Sun person to want to nurture them and teach them the importance of boundaries and discipline and being the mature expression of themselves. That's the high road to this. And you get into the low road. Like, at best, in this relationship, the Saturn person says, you know what, I respect you completely, and I'm going to teach you some lessons when it comes to setting boundaries, being disciplined, stepping into a more mature role of your energy, not falling into the low vibration of whatever your sign is. Like, this is all very, very good things. There are wonderful aspects to this relationship, but there's certainly some, negatives with this, and I'm going to get into that. But there is, there are, these clear boundaries made within the partnership. And so and the boundaries can also be not, overdoing or not going over the top with your energy, or moderating your energy. Like that's a very, very huge part of this. Like moderating your energy. Like it's very, very important to moderate yourself in your life. And so, moderating the energy of Sun and the Saturn, moderating the Sun's person energy can really, really help them not go to extremes with this. So the partners can form a mutual bond with one another at best, where there is relentless support, endless support, and mutual bonds to win each other, support each other, and respect each other's desires and beliefs and values and goals. And so if they respect each other's desires, beliefs, and values and goals, then the relationship can be wonderful. Wonderful. But relationships do require a bit of work. Like committed relationships, especially, but relationships that just take time to get to know the person and work with the person's energy and chart or whatever, and energy and chart. And so there is, especially with this relationship, because it's Saturn, it does indicate work needing to be had in this relationship. So expressing each individual, expressing their individual selves and not constricting and not holding back each other. Like if the two can respect each other and their values and how they want to go about life and come together and form a union, then this can go very, very well. With ambitions, really putting a really high emphasis on things being very, very ambitious, the two partners being very, very respecting each other's ambitions, especially because Saturn's so, driven and has a lot of ambition. The Sun's, wanting to put themselves out there, so in whatever way that they're doing it. So there's like the soul, when it comes to the Sun, there's like this soul drive to put yourself out there, to project your identity and who you are out to the world. So now, the two can rise above challenges. Like these are all the good things. Like I want to, give you the good news before the bad news, kind of thing. Well, they say, do you want the good news or do you want the bad news? So I'm giving you the good news. I'm going to get into some stormy weather later on in this podcast. But, the two can rise above the challenges. Like the two people in relationships can have these obstacles and be able to ascend above what's going on. They can both set long-term goals for themselves. That's also a huge part of this. Setting long-term goals and helping each other to achieve these long-term goals, whatever they may be. It could be a job, or a business, or a marriage relationship, or living in a certain house together, or living in a certain living situation together. I mean, whatever it is. So these long-term things in a relationship. And at best, the two can come together and really, really create a stable and secure union with each other. Something solid, something set. That's really the wonderful thing about this. And they can challenge and strengthen a bond also. Challenging and strengthening the two coming together and giving off lessons and growth opportunities to one another. Teaching each other lessons to learn in the the relationship, and sort of influencing each other and making each other the best version of each other that they can be, and putting in opportunities, like presenting like these blue dots and these red dots as these orange dots of opportunities for growth. like these spots that sort of light up where you just can go to them and it's like, okay, this is a growth opportunity. This is how I can grow from this person, be it the Sun or the Saturn person. And, the Saturn person can help the Sun person grow, and so can the Sun person to the Saturn person. Like, it is both and. Relationships are give and take, giving and receiving, balance. Each other can help each other grow and teach and learn from each other. It goes both ways, and that is how relationships work. They go both ways. So, it's a two-way street. Relationships are a two-way street. And at best, 50-50. So, all right. So, okay. So, all right. So they're showing areas where the two can evolve. Where the two partners can evolve, very, very effectively and easily. But there's these limitations that are, somehow enforced, with this, all these limitations, which need a lot of, maturity and resilience. Like, these limitations come with a price that is positive as opposed to negative, like, limitation. We all need limits. We all need boundaries to become the best versions of ourselves and the best versions of, stepping into our energies. And, maturity can come from limitation of how the partners, how you are limited, like you can't, like limiting you and not expressing and healing and releasing the shadow side of who you are, and embracing and supporting each other with the positive light qualities, the wonderful qualities of how they can evolve. That's this relationship at the high road. Needing needing resilience. Like, this relationship indicates that two can become very, very resilient and strong, and Saturn is all about resilience, how you become strong through struggle and, strong through endurance and working very, very hard at something, and putting in the time and energy and going through it tough and becoming stronger as a person as a result. Being able to handle such things like that. Now, the downside of this relationship, where the two partners can run into some issues, we have to get into this. The Saturn person may feel like they have to be responsible for everything the Sun person does, everything the Sun person says, like all this stuff. Like, they feel like they have to be responsible for the Sun person and how they live their life. The Sun person may feel like they are being criticized and judged. That this Saturn person is coming on them like a, hard father, a hard, strict disciplinarian, and forcing all these rules and boundaries and limits, and then criticizing the person for just expressing who they are, expressing their authentic, version of themselves. And so the Sun person may be very, very, very criticized by the Saturn person. So, depending upon who you are, there are some people who really, really do like relationships where you have a rock to rely on, somebody to ground you, somebody to keep you in line, somebody to keep you going and disciplined and responsible for you and look after you in a way where you can be mature and wise in your energy. But others may not really like this relationship that much, because others, maybe especially impacting air signs, fire signs, and Pisces probably, others, depending upon who you are, depending upon your astrology, may want to feel more liberated, may want to feel more free. And it could feel very, very restricting and limiting to these people. So, for the Sun person, who you are, your basic identity, what you want to put out in the world, your sense of, your sense of strength and energy, and vigor that you have for your life. When you meet with a Saturn person that's conjunct your Sun, they very well could block you in this. They very well could say, no, you're going to follow my rules, you're going to do what I want you to do because I need to control you, and you need to stay in line. Gosh darn it, no. I rule the roost, I'm in charge, I have the final say, intense and pine all the way. So that's what it can feel like. It can be like very, very sharp and very, very harsh. This relationship can feel very, very harsh and serious and very cold and very, well, this is the harshness of reality, and this is what you must do, and these are the rules you must follow. Like, oh my gosh, well, so who you are as a person, as your identity, and this also goes for the Saturn person as well. The two may come up against some challenges, some roadblocks in this relationship. That's definitely possible. It's coming up, and I'm going to tell you how to get to what I began this video with, the beginning part of this video. Okay, so coming up against that, and then the Saturn person and the Sun both of these partners, particularly the Saturn person, is here to help you master yourself. Like, if each partner, if the two partners can help each other master themselves and become the best, most advanced version of themselves and become a much better, wiser version of who they are, then it's all, wonderful. It's a great, very, very successful, very, very loving relationship in this case. How the Saturn can help mature the Sun person into the version of not taking away their identity, not stripping away their identity for who they are, but encouraging them again to lean towards the higher, more evolved vibration of who they are. And the same goes for the Saturn person. So, okay, but I'm talking about the Saturn to the Sun. I'll talk about the Sun to the Saturn later. So, it's kind of, breaking down. I'm not going to clarify, every time. Anyway. Okay. So, the Saturn person can help the Sun step into their potential. What are you the most capable of? What are you capable of most commonly? What is the highest point that you can achieve? What is the most, work and success and self-expression that you can achieve? Like, how can you live a life that is the fullest, that is the best, the most authentic life? And the Saturn person can get the Sun person can get the Saturn person out of their shell and help them along with stepping into their purpose, because Saturn is your purpose. It looks at your purpose. It looks at the challenges you came here to overcome. And, you weren't pushed on the bus. You were brought in to, work on these things and grow from these things. And the Sun person can help the Saturn person feel more secure about themselves and achieve the highest version of what they came to achieve. So you see how it's both and again with relationships. So the Saturn person might feel like the Sun person is two things: a godsend. Like they are so fortunate to have the Sun person in their life, so fortunate to have the Sun characteristics and qualities in their life with who they are, and what they have to give with their identity, with their qualities, but they also feel like the Saturn person feels obligated to take care of the Sun person. They feel that they must shape the Sun person. They feel like they must control the Sun person. They feel like they must mold them into the best version of who they want them to be. So that's what this, really, really comes down to, is this kind of dynamic in a relationship, like the teacher and the student, the parent and the child. Like, that's how this relationship can feel. Either you are the parent, or you have the child who is like undisciplined and ungrounded, and and needs to be put together, needs to be shape themselves into a more mature version of themselves, or you're the child feeling, oh, this other person is like a parent to me, this karmic disciplinarian. Like, did I know you in a past life? Do we have some kind of karma where you were, I think I know you in a past life. I think that, you're being very, very dictatorial over me and very, very controlling, strong-willed. And that's what the Saturn person can be. Like, both of these things, both of the Saturn and the Sun are strong-willed. So you see how these two can kind of butt heads at times. So, all right. So there's this obligation here. And when I say Sun conjunct Saturn, it can be like 3 degrees beforehand, 3 degrees after, easily, give or take. But especially that 1 degree. Like for me, my Saturn's at 16 Aries. My, grandma's Saturn is at 16. My Sun is at 16 Aries. Her Saturn is at 16 degrees of Aries. So, there you go. So, all right. So the Saturn person feels that the Sun is reflecting back to them something that they are just, they're just kind of like, kind of feeling like just rejecting, like, ooh, no, I don't want this. Ooh, no, you're too much. And, like, the Saturn person feels like the Sun person is too much. And they're just being themselves. but the Sun person is just like too much to the Saturn person. Like, it's too overpowering. Like you need to discipline yourself. You need to calm down. You need to rein it in. Like, this is what the Saturn person feels. If I was in a relationship with a Cancer who was really, really moody and emotional and, and had it together with family and connected, then, well, I probably would be more accepting of that because I've learned to openly be vulnerable and express my emotions. But then maybe I would feel like, maybe you should ground a little bit more because I have trouble feeling my emotions, taking care of myself, doing all these Cancerian things, which is where I have Saturn, which, is a block, basically. So, like Saturn blocks whatever, Saturn restricts whatever sign it's in, whatever it touches. So, the Saturn person reflects back to, the Sun reflects back to the Saturn person. Or should I say the Saturn person experiences a relationship with the Sun person, reflects back to them their unprocessed stuff, basically. Like, the Saturn person feels very, very insecure. Very, very insecure. And this Sun person's coming in and bringing up all these wounds, or all these insecurities, or all these fears, or all these limiting beliefs. The Sun person is just so freely expressing. So the Saturn person feels like, ooh, this is way too much for me. I cannot handle this. This is too personal. This is, no. Rejecting it. Nope. So this is what it can feel like to the Saturn person. Like, you have, in a relationship, you have to understand both partners in each other's side of the story. Like, yeah. So, and then, and certain karma from this lifetime or past lifetimes that the Saturn person didn't yet deal with. And the more insecure and the more unprocessed and real and raw this karma is to the Saturn person, the more insecure and the more rejecting that they will feel about the Sun person. And the more they work on themselves, the more they will be understanding and the more they will embrace and accept the Sun person's qualities. Naturally. So, the Sun person could reflect back to the Saturn person's, all the negatives that it has going on. The Saturn person could have gathered up all these unintegrated these experiences from your past that sort of teach you and condition you into these negative limiting conditions. Like in Saturn, in Aries' case, you can't have what you want. You're too selfish. You're too impulsive. You can't act on your impulses. You have to rely on your logic. You have to rely on others to make your own decisions. You have to wait your turn. You cannot be first. You have to put others before yourself. Like these are the things with Saturn and Aries. These are the things. And so it could be that this person has, granted this person has a Pisces stellium, so, there is this compassionate, loving quality and accepting quality, but there is this, rejection of this. Saturn rules like, ooh, I kind of reject this. I kind of want to ignore this. I kind of want to brush this under the carpet. And, like Saturn has to deal with your stuff, deal with your karma. And when you deal with it, it's going to make a huge heck of a lot of difference. So all these unintegrated experiences and, energy that you carry in from your actions and the consequences of these actions in maybe your early life, especially your childhood years, and your, past lives, that's unresolved and it's misunderstood. All these feelings from all these experiences and all these conditions and all these insecurities and limiting beliefs are unresolved. And so the Sun person is reflecting this back to the Saturn person. Wow, this kind of shows why the Saturn person would be very, very controlling and critical, because naturally if somebody's reflecting your wounds, you just want to, totally deny it and totally control it so that you don't have to look within yourself and integrate it and deal with it and let the person be who they are. Instead, you're taking out your insecurities and stuff, you're projecting it onto the other person, which is not healthy. So it's very, very important for the Saturn person to really, really do some, deep processing and some work on themselves, like compassionate, loving work on themselves, healing their karma. Okay, so the Saturn person could have unfulfilled expectations from the past. Unfulfilled hopes and dreams and desires, repressed desires, that the Sun person is expressing. If the Sun person is expressing what they basically cannot lean into, what they were told that you can't do this, that you can't, that you have to be mature, you can't express these qualities, and you can't, and the Sun person is illuminating to the Saturn person what they could be, but they're not. And they never had the opportunity. They never had anyone to give them permission or give them the open opportunity and the courage and the space to be able to do that. I would think that this would bring about a lot of jealousy for the Saturn person. And so the Saturn person, insecurity also, like the Saturn person would feel exposed and revealed. Like the Sun person is exposing all this stuff and bringing up all this stuff that's unresolved. The Saturn person, as I've stated before, controls and criticizes the Sun person, basically trying to diminish the power, its power, because, and the reason why the Saturn person diminishes the Sun person's power is because it feels basically endangered. Feels like it's going to be hurt. Feels very it's like the Saturn person feels very, very vulnerable, and there may be like a very, very cold exterior that it has, but deep down you're a very, very vulnerable soul. So the Sun person makes the Saturn person feel very, very vulnerable in relationships, and could, the Saturn person feels like they are being provoked. The Sun person, basically how they can help the Saturn person heal themselves and grow is by teaching them that if they expose themselves and if they just show their real qualities and show who they truly are with their Saturn placement, it will not be their undoing. They'll be fine. You are meant to express these qualities. You're not meant to just repress your Saturn sign, repress your Saturn qualities. You're here to embrace it in a way where you are embodying Saturn themes. Maturity, responsibility, discipline, but embracing the sign that Saturn is in and becoming the best version of that sign. So, it won't be your undoing if you would expose yourself in a relationship. Being seen, it's about learning to be seen by releasing the fear and releasing the insecurity about being judged by others. And I think that this really, really plays huge with Saturn and Aries, because Saturn and Aries, as I discussed in that podcast last week, April 19th, that Saturn and Aries is very, very sensitive to others' criticism and others holding it back from being its true self. So I'm saying to this person who has Saturn and Aries, being seen, it's okay to be seen. It's okay to put yourself out there and be who you are, and being just I would encourage you to let go of that fear of being judged by others who are going to think that you're just too much, too impulsive, too this, too that, too self-centered. And recognizing the things that are self-centered and selfish, and recognizing the things that are not, like self-love and self-care, self-respect, self-worth, self-trust. That is all not selfish. That is all not selfish. Or if it is selfish, it's selfish in good way. Okay, getting too confusing. Let's just say it's selfish, and that which I just described is not. So, okay. And actually I want to look up that just to so focus on your own needs, desires, and basically, focusing on yourself without, with just excluding others, and, basically not having any concern for others' well-being and, others' feelings, whatever. So that's what it means to be selfish. And all these things that I described, self-care, self-trust, all that, not selfish. Not selfish. So, I thought that I would sort of incorporate that in here. Now, all right. The Saturn person, what they really, really want, freedom. And they were taught that you can't be free. You can't be who you are. Because otherwise you'll be rejected. People are not going to like you. You're going to fail in life. You're going to be a failure in life. You're going to be unsuccessful. You're going to be, hurting others. You're going to be like, it's dangerous to just express this quality in yourself. In this case, it's dangerous to be yourself. It's not safe and not right to just be yourself. And that is so not true. So not true. So, so the Saturn person wants freedom and energy. The Saturn person deeply wants to express what the Sun person is expressing. Energy, with serenity and peace and without judgment, expressing themselves without judgment. And the Saturn person really feels like they're going to be judged and poked and prodded and beaten down and hurt or whatever, because the Saturn person probably hasn't integrated those parts that the Sun person freely expresses within itself. So there's unintegrated parts with the Saturn, and the Sun just expresses these things outwardly. And again, Saturn person doesn't like this, doesn't feel secure about this. So the Saturn person can see the Sun as a teacher to them. Seeing them as a teacher. To teach them, hey, you can be your true self. You can express yourself. You can go after these kind of goals and be disciplined and be focused and serious and dedicated in this way. And this is, it's okay to follow your own purpose and your own destiny and to create your own reality and to master yourself in regards to these specific areas. So the Sun, this is what it can be. So the Saturn person, as the relationship progresses, the Saturn person can see the Sun person not as a threat, but as a teacher, as a guide. As a guide to show them this is the way to be this sign's qualities. In this case, this is how to nurture. This is how to really express emotions. This is how to really take care of yourself. This is how to really feel emotions. Oh my gosh, I can just literally see myself feeling so jealous and so rejecting towards a Cancerian who really feels their feelings, because I have Saturn in Cancer and I do relate to the feeling of being numb, of repressing emotions, not really feeling empathy or sympathy or happy or sad or joy or sorrow or whatever. And that's just Sun person in Cancer, the Sun in Cancer person is just expressing this openly, like, I wish I could do that. So, I'm kind of seeing how this could play out for somebody born June 27th, 28th, if I would happen to meet them. Especially, or I'd say from the 26th through the 30th of June, that's around the area that the Sun, my Saturn would be conjunct their Sun. So that I could just picture myself right now seeing them be so emotionally feeling and just so effortlessly feeling, and then I have struggles with this and be like, oh no, I'm jealous of that. I wish I could do that. Ooh, no. It's an ego thing. Like, now I understand how the Saturn person feels. Like, when you want to control and criticize somebody who is, like, expressing something that you couldn't express, that you couldn't, you were taught that you couldn't express, or you have difficulty, like, you hold yourself back in this area of life. When you feel like this anger, when you feel like this rage, like this, this jealousy that can come, like, that's like, you have to understand those underlying feelings with that Saturn person going on there. So, The Saturn person starts proclaiming all these reclaimed qualities, like creativity, play, joy, especially in Leo, Saturn in Leo, and Sun in Leo. Alright, this is probably most potent in the fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, or the air signs, especially the signs of Gemini and Aquarius. But so, all three air signs really. But so, all these lost qualities that Saturn was told, oh, you can express this, oh, you can't love these things out, you can't express these qualities, you can't lean into these qualities. Well, the Sun person is basically giving them a permission slip to embrace these qualities. As angry as the Saturn person feels toward the Sun person, the Sun person is giving them, it's about getting over that and working with that and making peace with it. And, and just how the Saturn person can heal is by being empowered enough to express the qualities that the Sun person is expressing and to learn to lean into that, where the Sun person can help them release all these insecurities, release all these fears. So if the Saturn person is so deepened in its wound, that's a very, very low road. If it's, this is the low vibration version of this, is if it's just so deepened, if the wound cuts so deep and cuts so personal, the Sun person's self-expression, they can't tolerate it. The Saturn person cannot tolerate it. It is too much. They want to control, they want to limit, they want to put a boundary on because, oh wow, you are too much and you need to get under control. You need to control yourself. You need to, you need to get under control. So the Saturn person, does that to the Sun person. So the Sun exposes the insecurities of Saturn. So the Sun person may just happen to go inside it themselves when this happens. And it's like they've been gaslighted by the Saturn person. It's like they've been told that they're not worthy of being themselves, like they're not worthy of living their own reality, they're not worthy of expressing who they want to express authentically. Then they go inside themselves and they question themselves, like, am I really worthy to be self-expressing? Am I being too much? Am I being too emotional or too hard-nosed, too rigid, Saturn in Taurus, or too communicative, Saturn in Gemini, or too all over the place, Saturn in Gemini, or excuse me, Sun in Gemini, or Sun in Aries? Am I being too self-centered to the Saturn person in Aries, to the Sun person in Aries? So that's what it can be like. Wonders why self-expression causes all this pain. It's like they're questioning themselves. Why is just me expressing my light and showing my authentic light causing the Saturn person so much angst, so much emotional, turmoil and difficulty and discomfort and just deep pain? So they really feel like they're very, very different people. The Sun person is going to be very, very different than the Saturn person, how they approach life, even if it's the same sign. They can't, it's like they're drawn to each other. It's like you're drawn to the person. Have you ever had those relationships where you're just so drawn to the person, but you just can't stand the person? They are drawn to each other. They cannot move away from each other. They cannot move away from the connection between each other. But to the Saturn person, but in a relationship in general is a burden. Not an easy relationship. Not just a light and flowing walk in the park. Easy breezy, loving, harmonious. Nice, easy relationship. I don't think that this is what this relationship is, and that's not the nature of how this relationship is, really. So it's about both being willing to put in the work to work on themselves and be self-aware, to then process the things that they need to do within themselves so that they can express the highest versions of themselves to each other and help each other step into the best versions of themselves. So the connection can really, really work out in that way. So the Sun person feels like the Saturn person can also take advantage of them. Like, the Saturn person says, I need you because I need you to help me express this. And oh my goodness, I want to hold on to for all you're worth. Like, again, Saturn wants to control. So, Saturn is using the Sun as kind of like a crutch, basically. Kind of, being overly reliant. And at worst, kind of not respecting them for their authenticity, for their self, their sovereign self. Just, you have this thing that I want. You have this, these qualities that you're expressing that I so badly want, so I'm going to try to control you to get that way. I'm going to try to control you to, get me what I want when it comes to expressing these qualities. So that's also an area of concern in this relationship. And so the question is, can the Saturn person not try to control the Sun person? And notice when they are being overly controlling and allowing the Sun person to freely express their light. Notice when they are using the Sun person instead of using them in a negative way where they're taking advantage of them, but then using it in a positive way to help them grow and evolve. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with using someone in a positive way to help you, become a better version of yourself. But where you are just taking advantage of them for your own gain, when it comes a negative, that's, kind of the low road. So, it's almost like, it goes back to this idea of like a parent-child relationship where Saturn feels like they must protect the Sun person. The Sun person feels that the Saturn person is controlling them and keeping them from shining their light. And the other thing that I wanted to say is, like, when that Sun person expresses their, their qualities, the Saturn person is, like, angry because, like, how come you can, it gets all indignant, if that's the word, and goes like, how come you can express your creative, authentic self with your traits and I can't? That's not fair. That's not fair. Why are you expressing all this and I can't express this? So resentment builds up and anger builds up naturally. But it's because the Saturn person was conditioned that they couldn't be themselves. And the Saturn person is like giving them like the big fat permission slip to be themselves. Like they're giving them the get out of jail free card to express themselves. Like the Sun person is like saying, hey, this repressed quality, you don't have to repress it. You can freely, openly express it. So if the Saturn person can recognize that and allow themselves, like, you're not meant to just repress this quality and let the Sun person just do their thing. You're meant to learn to bring out this quality and become stronger with this quality, expressing this, work on yourself and heal this, and then bring out this quality, express this quality alongside the sun person. So that's what this relationship can be like at the high road. It kind of, will probably always be, maybe it'll always be a child, parent relationship, but maybe, depending upon who you are. It does depend upon other factors in the chart. You do have to remember this. But, the high road is a stable, running relationship, mutual relationship, with the two allowing themselves to be each other. Where the sun person is allowing the Saturn to freely express themselves and to heal their karma. And then the sun person is allowing the Saturn person to help them grow and mature them into the best version of themselves. So that is the conclusion that I want to make toward this relationship in Synastry. Oh my goodness. I hope that you have enjoyed and found value out of this very, very deep dive into the Saturn-Sun conjunction, Sun conjunct Saturn in Synastry. Thank you for tuning in. Share this, like this, do all the things. I really, really would appreciate your support through following this podcast, through subscribing my channel. I really, any subscriber that I can get, I would really, I really, really do value that. And, tomorrow I think that I want to talk about another Synastry aspect that I share with somebody very, very close to me, the moon conjunct Venus, which is very, very, very positive and very, very loving and harmonious. So I want to get into that in tomorrow's podcast. But anyway, I will see you next time on the Cosmic Sky podcast. Bye for now.